Mario Kart Wii was released in 2008, and yet, here we are nearly 2 decades later, still debating the rules of its competitive scene. And today, I want to bring you the latest update on one of the most controversial topics this community has faced in years: pause buffering in time trials. Back in June, I released a video breaking down the history of pause buffering, what it is, why it's controversial, and covering the community poll that was taking place to decide its future. That poll literally split the community in two, with a 50-50 vote share. It led to a discussion channel opening in Discord where players had their say, and after a few weeks, nothing changed. The discussion became gridlocked, with seemingly nobody wanting to agree on a solution, despite several really promising suggestions being made. But just last week, the stagnation that was felt for the past few months shifted, because a new poll dropped and the results are now in. A new technical solution has been voted on, and the community has reached a consensus on whether or not pause buffering should be banned in time trials. Before we jump in, let's quickly recap the last video for those of you who might be new here. There are two ways to pause Mario Kart Wii. Both allow you to buffer inputs when in the menu, to effectively have a queued up input stored for when you unpause. The home menu is able to be pressed every single frame, meaning you can theoretically create an entire time trial frame by frame to include unfair tricks such as super grinding or super hopping. Pause buffering refers to when a player buffers their inputs via the use of the in-game pause menu. Much like the home menu, you can queue inputs for when you unpause, but you cannot play the game frame by frame due to the 300 millisecond or 20 frame cooldown between pressing unpause and being able to open the menu again. Despite this cooldown, you are able to make certain frame perfect tricks such as chaining wheelie or auto hopping, with a much higher consistency when using the pause buffering technique versus when you're not. The previous poll suggested two options. Option 1, allowing any and all use of the pause menu. And option 2, electing a council of people annually who would scrutinise new top level runs which have pause time in them to judge whether pausing was used advantageously on a case by case, subjective basis. Both of these, I think it's fair to say in hindsight, were flawed. However, that poll ran for 2 weeks from the middle of June, and the results could not have been closer, with just one vote separating the two options. The dividing of the community in such a monumental way ultimately led to no action being taken. The moderators instead opted to open a discussion channel so the community could hope to work on a solution moving forward. Over the last 3 months, many options were tabled and discussed in this thread, and quite honestly, even I thought this was a fruitless venture. It seems nobody was willing to budge, or really even listen to ideas other than their own, opting always for direct contradictions and arguments in place of logical discussion. This led me, and I'm sure countless others, to simply give up on the thread as a whole. However, I'm pleased to say that on Tuesday the 23rd of September, one of the most popular ideas to sprout from this discussion thread was put to a vote: frame buffering. The idea is simple. After unpausing, a player's directional and trick/wheelie inputs will be voided for 3 frames. Furthermore, it is suggested that the home menu will be altered to have the same 20 frame cooldown like the in-game pause menu. The poll itself this time was a simple yes or no. The intent behind frame buffering is to severely reduce the likelihood of someone being able to gain an unfair advantage from using either pausing menu during a time trial run. And I think this is a succinct way to achieve that goal. Do I think it's perfect? No. But no solution ever would be. It's a suitable workaround to keep the game fun, fair, and ensure the spirit of competition is not imposed upon. I think this sentiment was echoed by the majority of players, because after a 7-day voting period, the frame buffering poll ended with a near 80-20 split in favour of implementing frame buffering into CTGP. So what does this mean for time trialers moving forward? Players are already forced to either play through CTGPR or record your run with a handcam, and that has not changed. CTGPR, where this frame buffering will now be implemented, remains as the tool for competitive Mario Kart Wii players to prove that their times are legitimate. But it is worth noting that times set outside of CTGPR will remain valid even if pausing is used, as each run is manually reviewed. which could mean it's only a matter of time before we see the question of what counts as advantageous pausing resurface once again. Thank you to the Mario Kart Wii moderators for their work on these polls, and thank you, as always, for watching.